What's up, guys? Today on Project Big Gun, we're going to discuss a topic that I got into on Instagram last night with Dante Trudell and some other people. Who, if you guys don't know, Dante Trudell is the founder of the dog crap training of methodology, which is a bodybuilding method that says it involves a lot of cool concepts, but essentially it's a higher frequency, high intensity training routine. And when I was just starting out in lifting, I still didn't know what I wanted to do, right? Like, I was just the guy who got in the gym and liked to train hard, didn't really have any goals. That's one of the big methodologies that I followed, because Dante is a very smart dude, a very well-written dude. He explains his ideas really well, and so this really resonated with me. But the idea we were discussing yesterday was constantly beating your own logbook, right? So you go into the gym one week and you write down your squat, right? So I'm going to squat, and I'm going to do 405 for 10 this week. Well, next week, right, I have to do either 415 for 10, or I have to do 405 for 12, right? So it could be 405 for 12 or 415 for 10. Week 1, week 2. So Dante was saying that, in order to get bigger and stronger over time, all that matters in the big picture, right? There's little stuff. Obviously, diet's massively important, but in the gym, all that really matters is you beating this logbook over time. And I said, that's not true. It's really not true. And I agree with the vast majority of Dante's system. I'm very much nitpicking here, but I think it's an important nit to pick because of my own experiences training this way, and thinking that if I was just the strongest person around, I'd also be the biggest person around. So today we're going to talk about why that's not always the case. Now, the whole conversation started because Dante was talking about how you have to keep a training log, right? So that you know from week to week, are you progressing in strength or not? Because if you're progressing in strength, then you're going to be progressing in size as well. And I said, I agree with you for the most part. I think people benefit from keeping a training log, but I don't. I found that I used to be extremely dedicated and strict with my training log. And I found that what would happen is if I had a bad workout, or even if I had a good workout, but then I go back in the past training log and I look at my notes and see I'd done better before, I get really down on myself. And because of that, that whole week until the next training session when I had another chance, I'd be obsessing over this. And that made it really hard. I was stressed. So it made it hard to recover outside the gym. It made it hard to sleep. It made it hard to eat. And I was like, this isn't productive. And so eventually I just stopped keeping a training log, and a lot of that frustration went away. So I mentioned that. And Dante and a lot of other people seem to have issues with it. When, my real point was that you got to find what works for you guys. Training log's not the only way to measure progress. You can take progress pictures. You can count the number of fucking trophies on your wall, or in my case, under the bed. Like, it doesn't matter, whatever works for you. But they weren't having it. And, the bigger point here is, is getting stronger the key to getting bigger. And I'll address that in a second. But I do want to talk about the training log in particular, because I think the other direct issue here is that when you're keeping a training log, you look back last week and you did 405 for 10 or 12 or however many, you're considering progress is always going to be linear. And if you've watched the Unfuck Your Program videos, once you're past the beginner stage, progress ain't always linear. So that's the first problem. But the bigger problem is the question about size and strength and how are they related. So you've probably heard the expression of bigger muscles is stronger muscle, right? And that is true to a point. So I want to be very, very clear here. Again, okay, I'm really nitpicking. I think it's extraordinarily important that beginners build a size base. And in fact, I'm going to do a whole nother video, a strength base, I'm going to do a whole nother video explaining how to do that. For right now, I just want to focus on the difference between size and strength and how they're related, okay? That's the only thing we're talking about, so please don't take this out of context and think that across the board I'm saying strength doesn't matter. Obviously, right? Like, I ain't gonna say strength doesn't matter. But here's the thing. A bigger muscle is only a stronger muscle. A stronger muscle is only a bigger muscle to a certain point. And this is the discussion we're having last night. I was saying, look, man, there is a ton of reasons why you might not be eating the logbook from week to week, okay? Let's just take some of the reasons that you could get stronger without getting bigger. Well, your central nervous system could improve, right? So that's going to be something that really occurs more on a short-term basis for the most part, unless you're drastically overtrained, which is very rare. But let's say you haven't done a movement in a while. Let's say, like me, you're taking a little break from your competition squats to do a safety bar squat. Well, the first week you do them, they're going to suck because you haven't done safety bar squats in a while. But then the next week you'll be a little bit more comfortable with the movement, a little bit more comfortable with the movement, and so your numbers are going to skyrocket. Well, did that mean you added all that muscle? Hell no. Of course not. You know that. It just means you're getting more comfortable with the movement. There's a lot of other things that can have the same effect, right? So cumulative fatigue. If you're following a high volume strength training program, right? And let's take an extreme example. Let's say you're doing either small love or some other Bulgarian method, and you're squatting 6 days a week, right? Well, holy shit. I know small love's not 6 days a week, but let's say you're squatting 6 days a week. It's like, holy shit, not every day is going to be a good day because you've got all this cumulative fatigue built up from all this work you've done. Well, does that mean you're getting weaker and smaller? Hell no, it means you've increased your training volume, and so your strength has temporarily decreased. And then a third example, right? Movement patterns. That's what MVMT stands for. So let's say you get better technically at the lift. Let's say you write me for a technique analysis, and I help you out, and you figure out, oh, I'm supposed to use my lats when I deadlift, and all of a sudden your deadlift skyrockets. Does that mean you got stronger on the deadlift? It means you got stronger. Does that mean you got a bigger lat? Not at first. Over time, if you continue to get stronger, then yeah, probably going to have bigger lats as well, but it's not guaranteed. Okay, so we're going to return to that last point because that's really important. But let's look at some reasons you could get bigger, right, without getting stronger. One thing that I want to remember off the top of your head, want you to remember right from the top, is that muscle is not just comprised of contractile tissue, the stuff that's moving the weight, right? So your muscles are made of muscle tissue fibers. The muscle tissue fibers contract, and that exerts force, and that allows you to lift the weight. That's a bad oversimplification, but you get the picture. But your muscles are comprised of a lot more than just that, all right? In fact, the contractile tissue only makes up about 30% of the muscle. The rest is shit like intercellular fluid, God knows what else, blood probably. So, like, you've got all this other stuff in your muscles, and getting stronger isn't going to make all that stuff bigger, right? It's going to make the muscle contractile tissue itself bigger. It's not going to make the stuff bigger. And to make that stuff bigger, studies show that it can actually be very hard, but a ton of volume is actually more helpful than getting stronger, right? This is a huge reason you see bodybuilders looking so much different from powerlifters, right? Guys like me or Dan Green or Larry Wheels, we tend to have we have good physiques because we're lean, and we have a lot of muscle tissue because we're strong. But we don't have that same look that a bodybuilder has, right? We don't have that pop. I'm trying to acquire that pop now. I'm trying to learn how to apply my strength to building size. That's why I'm passionate about this topic. It's what I'm doing right now. But it's something that if you want to maximize your physique over your strength, you need to keep this in mind, okay? I am not saying this is how you need to train right now. Again, we're going to get into that in a separate video. I am saying just keep it in mind. Know that getting stronger is not always going to make you bigger. Getting bigger does not always mean you got stronger, right? And you can look at other guys too, right? Look at Kai Green. Kai Green uses very light weights. Kai Green has one of the best physiques of all time. So clearly it's not all about strength. Other things it could be about drugs, duh, right? So one of the things some of that other stuff, right, besides blood and intracellular fluid or whatever, is glycogen. Muscle cells store glycogen, which is a form of carbohydrate that your body has processed, and the glycogen holds water, and the glycogen, if it's intracellular, is going to make your muscles pop, right? So the more glycogen you have in your body, which can be influenced by diet, we're going to get there, but it can also be influenced by drugs, right? So most steroids that you take, especially the anabolic ones as opposed to the androgenic ones, and we're going to get into that also in another video, They're really going to increase your rate of glycogen retention, not your rate of glycogen retention, but the amount of glycogen you retain over time. So your muscles are going to appear bigger. Well, does that mean you got stronger? No. Yes, if you're injecting 500 milligrams of testosterone, you're probably going to get stronger. But the fact that you blew up overnight didn't make you stronger. It did not. In fact, what it probably did was fuck your leverages, so your strength goes down, right? But you got bigger. So you guys can already see how this bigger or stronger is kind of falling apart, and how it's not always going to come down to what's in the logbook, right? And then the third thing is diet, right? Like, look at me. My total hasn't gotten all that much higher, right? Because I've reached pretty close to my natural potential. But I've also gotten a lot smaller, right? Because I wasn't for a while eating very much. So, and I'm saying smaller compared to like 2017. So, yeah, there's just, and it goes the other way around as well, right? You have a guy who eats massive quantities of food. He's going to put on a ton of muscle, and then I'm going to put on a ton of fat as well. But even if he doesn't necessarily get stronger, if he's training and if he's taking drugs, which you probably are if you're doing, hardcore shit, then he's going to get bigger. Muscularly bigger. Okay? So there's lots and lots and lots of factors here. Why is this all important? Well, the reason that it's all really, really important is because if you got hung up on getting bigger, or getting stronger because you think it's going to make you bigger, two things. First of all, it's going to make you depressed about something that you don't necessarily even need to bother about, right? Like if your goal is to look good and you had a bad workout in the gym, blow it off. It doesn't matter. You still trained your muscles. You still made progress. Trust me. Just because you had a shitty workout for whatever reason doesn't mean that you didn't get bigger. The other reason is because you can very easily end up like me, right? Where I have fucking massive quads and a massive back and fucking pin stick arms because I've been training for strength and not for size, okay? And this is where the system really starts to fall apart, and this is another reason why I'm really passionate about the topics, because I've had to live this firsthand. It's really fucking frustrating. But, when you get stronger at bicep curls, for example, okay? Let's take a different example. Let's say when you get stronger at deadlifts, right? It's really hard to get strong as hell at deadlifts without building a big fucking back, no matter how tiny you are, no matter how jacked you, whatever. Look at any of the top deadlifters from the US Open. They all probably had fucking big backs, right? Big is going to be relative. Mariana's back is not as big as Kaler's, but for their size, for their structure, they had big ass backs. Let's look at bicep curls, right? This is a very opposite example, okay? You can be strong as hell on a bicep curl. Again, go look at some of the world record holding bicep curl guys, and you're not going to necessarily have big arms. And the reason for that is that in bicep curls, you're not isolating your biceps. It's not just a bicep movement. Not the deadlift is just a back movement, but it's impossible to deadlift without training your back really, really hard. It's just impossible. Even if you pull a sumo, it's impossible. But, assuming you're going heavy. But if you're doing heavy curls, you can sure as hell not use your biceps, right? You can do a fucking power curl, right? Where it's all traps and lower back, and your arms didn't do jack shit. And even if you're using strict form, right, there's going to be a pretty solid limit to how much you can curl with strict form, right? How many guys have you seen standing perfectly strict, curling more than 135? Probably zero. Probably zero. And the reason is your biceps just don't have that much strength potential. But clearly, you look at these top bodybuilders with 25-inch arms, and the biceps have plenty of size potential. So, in that particular example, you probably need to train your biceps in a different way than you train your back. And that's very simple, right? But I think that a lot of people get caught up in these dogmas, myself included, right? That's why I'm making this video, because I have been there. I'm not judging them. And I think that can really derail your progress over time. So size and strength, again, they are related. Strength is extraordinarily important if you're just starting out. Extraordinarily important, no matter whether your goal is to be strong or whether to be big, okay? I do not want that message to get lost, and I'm going to do a whole separate video explaining just how important it is. But if you're a more advanced dude and you haven't seen the progress you want, and you've been really caught up in the chasing the strength, well, this might be the reason why. And even if you're not an advanced dude, but you're really caught up in chasing the strength, just keep in mind at some point down the road, you will need to change your strategies, okay? Everything works, nothing works forever. That's all I got for today. It's already been kind of a long video, so I apologize for that, especially because you're just staring at my ugly mug. We do have some cool topics coming up. I'm going to continue the Unfuck Your PEDs course. We're going to continue Project Big Bang, obviously. And there should be some cool surprises coming out there, so just stay tuned. And I'm also going to try and get more into kind of a Unfuck Your Bodybuilding series. I don't necessarily want to jump right into that. I do have most of the content planned, but because I'm doing the other two at the same time, I don't want everything to get lost in the weeds. So please give me some feedback on that. Let me know if it'll be helpful or not. And I will see you next time. Think strong, train hard.